the Finance Act 2023. I will need you to share more light on the economic policy that regards the Finance Act with regards to also the effective date variation, which deferred the commencement date of the changes contained in the Act from May the 23rd, 2023 to September the 1st, 2023 to ensure adherence to the 19 days minimum advance notice for tax changes as contained in the 2017 National Tax Policy. What difference does this changes really make to the Finance Act?
And thank you very much for that question. Because this question has been out there, that what is even the difference, right? But all I will say is this: when a tax is introduced, right, it is best practice for there to be a transition period. The way the Finance Act 2023 was enacted, if you go through the history and just the past 2-3 months, you will understand that the Finance Act 2023 was signed on the 28th of May 2023 to commence on the 1st of May 2023.
Yeah.
Now, people only became aware of this sometime in June 2023.
Yeah.
And in the Finance Act, there are some obligations that some of the importers, manufacturers, and people generally, business generally, should comply with. They only became aware of this in June. That was signed in May 28, 2023 to commence on the 1st of May. So the implication is this: as at the time the people, Nigerians, became aware of the Finance Act 2023, some businesses would have been operating against or in default of the provisions of the Finance Act that was to have started on the 1st of May 2023. So what the present government has done is to say, let us even align with best practice and our national tax policy. Because the National Tax Policy 2017 provided in Section 3 sub 1 that for any new tax that is being introduced, there should be a transition period between 3 to 6 months, so that the people, the taxpayers who are to comply with those provisions, will be able to make some arrangement, make some planning. If they have to do some things around their ERP to comply with the provisions of the law as to paying of their taxes. So this is actually best practice, and it means that those who are to comply with some of those provisions in the Finance Act 2023 now have a period of 3 months, 90 days, to look at their system, make the necessary amendments that will enable them comply with the provisions of the Finance Act 2023. And I think it is actually in order.
Okay, good one there. Thank you for giving us much insights to that development. But then again, when you come to taxation in Nigeria, it seems to be multiple taxation seems to be one of the myriads of challenges that the business environment is being confronted with. Now, with this development in place, how do the government intend to increase revenue generation without much taxation, without taxing the people and especially big businesses?
Thank you so much. So there's this word out there that says debt and tax, they are the two constants in life. So taxation in itself is not totally wrong. It is the manner with which it is being implemented. So government needs to raise revenue, and one of the ways to raise revenue is through taxation. However, we now need to look at what are you taxing and how are you taxing. In Nigeria, the issue is not about taxing or having multiple taxes. The issue is about widening the tax net. I tell you, today, there are a whole lot of persons that are yet to be captured in the tax nets. Many persons are not paying taxes as we speak. A research that was done in 2019 by the NESG showed that individuals in Nigeria, about 70% of the individuals in Nigeria have apathy to payment of taxes. And for businesses, 31% also have apathy for payment of taxes. So generally, the businesses don't want to pay taxes, right? So it is important that the government seek for ways of widening the tax net to bring in much people. It will be counterproductive to keep on taxing these big businesses that are already paying taxes, because the businesses are currently struggling. Yes. The businesses are currently saying that there's a whole lot of things that we are battling with, and if you keep on imposing taxes on us, it will not do well. Imposing taxes on these current businesses is like asking someone who is anemic to donate blood. I don't know if you get that analogy. If somebody is already anemic and you're not calling that person to still donate blood, that it will lead to death. And so, for me, I would say let the government look at expanding the tax net. Once more persons come in, the revenue will increase.
Okay, good one there. But I still want to stay on what you said. Increasing the tax net is very important. But then again, we have what we call a trust deficit between the government and the people. What should the government do to bridge that trust deficit? Because most people will say, if I pay my tax and then we don't see the impact of these taxes on the economy, then of what use is the essence of paying taxes? So how do this new government, especially now that we have a new government in place that is serious about getting things being done right in the country, how would the government bridge that trust deficit between itself and then its government?
You have just hit the nail on the head, and that is one of this point you just raised is one of the things that is driving the tax apathy and making people not to be willing to pay their taxes. So we've seen instances and reports where government officials are being, you know, the report about the Auditor General, the money spent, corruption and all that, right? There is the need for, in fact, for me, I'll say for government to drive this motivation, for people to be motivated to pay taxes, people would want to see the work that the taxes are doing for them. You can't be telling me to pay taxes when I still provide my power supply. The roads are still in a state of disrepair and I have to keep on fixing my cars. You can't ask me to pay taxes when I still have to provide my security. You see estates pay security levies and all that. So once the government is able to ensure people see that in concrete terms, with evidence that these taxes you pay, that is what we are using to provide infrastructure and social amenities, it will make the people to be motivated, and that trust issue that you mentioned will be done away with. You are asking the market women to pay taxes when the market stores, the roads are in state of disrepair, rain falls and the whole road is flooded, their customers cannot come to purchase their goods, and you are telling them to pay taxes. But if you do the roads, if you provide power supply, if you do provide all this infrastructure, it will make the people to be really encouraged and motivated to pay their taxes. So for this present government, in as much as they should go about enlightenment, tax enlightenment and all that, another way is for them to show that the taxes the people pay they are working for the people. If they can get this right, I tell you, the motivation level will increase.
Good one, good one. Thank you for that insight. Now, with this new tax reforms by the president, it has shown that the president is actually truly walking the talk when he said that it will eliminate business unfriendly fiscal policy measures and multiplicity of taxes. I want to ask you now, as an expert in this field, what signal is this development sending to the foreign investors, and what end result will it have on our ease of doing business ranking if World Bank decides to come up with an update for next year?
Thank you for the question. So the signal it is sending to the international community is a positive signal. It's a positive signal. The impact on the ease of doing business, I want to say we need to be very careful. So the fiscal policy measures is a subset, as it is just one of the indicators, right? There are other indicators. So it is important that as we are getting it right on the fiscal policy angle, we also get it right in other spheres, in other areas. For example, how long does it take me to get my approvals from the government, to register a company from the government parastatal? How long does it take me to get my licenses? What is the turnaround time? So even if the fiscal policy is great, in terms of the registration, in terms of getting approvals, in terms of getting licenses, what is the turnaround time? What is the ease of getting these approvals? Another thing is security. So how is the security issue in Nigeria? Because, for example, if you say, no matter how good the fiscal policy measure, the tax reform is in Ukraine as we speak, but it is what is going on there. So the ease of doing business there, of course, will be low, right? So it is important that as we are getting it right on this aspect of the fiscal policy, which is a good signal, for it to have an impact on the ease of doing business rate ranking for Nigeria, we also have to get it right on other issues, on infrastructure issues. What are the infrastructure in place? Even if we get it right with the fiscal policies, do we have consistent or constant power supply? How good are our roads? What are the ways? How good are the regulations, the laws, right, for businesses? So these are the various things that we put in place, and it must be in a sustained way, in a sustained manner, before we can now start seeing a very positive impact on the ease of doing business ranking in Nigeria.
Okay, now let me end up this interview segment with this question. It's going to be a 3-1 question, and I hope you'll be able to do justice to them in 30 seconds. One, for the FIRS, which is saddled with the responsibility of tax collection and tax management in the country, with this new development in place, what will become of the revenue generated by FIRS? And that's one. And secondly, what are your expectations for the new presidential committee on fiscal policy and tax reform? You have one of your bosses there. What are your expectations for him, and what do you trust that he can do to ensure that Nigeria tax system is well reformed, that everyone is beneficiary of it?
Thank you very much, Blessed. So I will want to say that for the FIRS, this is a positive development for them, and I'm still referring to what I said initially. It is not about multiplicity of taxes, but it's about widening the tax net. So this, and when taxes are introduced, it is important that, first of all, there must have been some form of stakeholders collaboration and consultation. So I believe this suspension is an avenue for the FIRS and all other stakeholders to come to the table. So it is a suspension. It is not an annulment or a repeal, right? It's only a suspension of those taxes, and I believe it gives room for the FIRS and other stakeholders to come to the table to discuss and say, how are we even going? Let us know what's your concerns about these taxes, and how are we going to do it? Should we do it in a phased manner, and what is the best or the most effective way of putting or imposing these taxes, and everybody speaks together and they come to a resolution that will be good for the government and also good for the sector, the stakeholders in that industry. Now, for the committee that have been set up, I want to believe that the choice is a round peg in a round hole, right? Because the committee, I believe, will be made up of persons who have experience in both the fiscal space and the tax space. What my expectation would be that the committee will do more of stakeholders consultation and collaboration. So before any reform is brought in, before any tax is imposed, before any tax law is enacted, there should be extensive consultation with the stakeholders so that everybody is on the same page. That is number one. Number two, we want to see a fiscal policy or a fiscal climate where there is impact analysis, right? Before a particular tax is imposed, can we do some form of impact analysis? What will be the impact of this levy? What will be the impact of this tax that we are introducing to the industry? And then number three, I want to talk about the need for data. I believe the will be making use of data and also driving it with technology. So these are some of the things we'll be expecting from them.
All right, Emmanuel Ekpeme, I wish we had enough time to talk about it because I still have so many questions unanswered. But then again, we'll have to reschedule some other time and give you enough time to buttress some of these angles and see how we can bring about lasting solutions to so many unanswered questions. I'd like to say a big thank you, Emmanuel Ekpeme, for taking out your time from your busy schedule to be a part of this conversation. Thank you so much. Emmanuel Ekpeme is a lawyer and manager at PricewaterhouseCoopers. Thank you for your time.